Hello everybody, my name is Quinn and welcome to my channel. So today we are going to be doing my July wrap-up slash Booktube A-Thon wrap-up sort of combined into one video. In the month of July I ended up reading 11 books, which still kind of blows my mind. Like, how did I read 11 books in 1 month? I don't think that's ever happened before, but I'm not complaining. I'm so happy with how much I read, and I kind of owe that all to the Booktube A-Thon. It just got me out of my reading slump. It fully immersed me in reading again, and I'm so excited to keep reading in the month of August. So let's just see everything that I read in the month of July. The first book that I read in the month of July was Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Walsh. The story follows our main character, Lena. Her mother has recently passed away from cancer, and it was her mother's dying wish for her to go to Italy and meet this man, Howard, who Lena believes to be her father. She finds her mom's journal there and learns a lot about her mom's time in Italy. I unfortunately really didn't like this book. It actually kind of put me in a reading slump for quite a bit. I just felt like the characters were kind of cliche and average. The main character just kind of annoyed me. She had her mother's journal, but she was reading it in chunks and trying to guess what happened next, and she jumped to a lot of conclusions when she had the full story right there instead of just reading it all at one time and figuring out what happened. She spent a lot of time just jumping to stupid conclusions that could have been avoided. I thought the romance was way too insta-love and unbelievable, and after being in a relationship myself for 4 years, I've begun to be really critical about insta-love and how realistic it is, and I just didn't really think it was in this book, and I ended up giving it, I think, only 2 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in the month of July, I actually listened to. I've been getting really into audiobooks this month, which is pretty uncommon for me. I have to really like the narrator of the audiobook to listen to an audiobook. So that audiobook was The Girl with the Lower Back Tattoo by Amy Schumer. My mom had a list of audiobooks, so I just kind of picked that one. It seemed interesting. Amy Schumer's not perfect. She definitely says some controversial things, but I really enjoyed this audiobook. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Her narration was really great. She handles a lot of topics like her father's MS. She talks about domestic abuse, being a woman in Hollywood and the struggles that come along with that. It was just very insightful into her life and shows that there's more than just the comedian that she goes out to be. If you don't like crude humor, this isn't for you, but I really wasn't bothered by it, so I really enjoyed it and gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I listened to another audiobook, and that was The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. And again, I really did not like this book. This book is basically this woman's method to decluttering and tidying up your life, and if you follow her method, you'll never have to tidy again. I just found a lot of her methods to be really weird, kind of excessive, and a little far-fetched. One of the things she suggests is that every day you thank your items for the job they've done throughout the day, and if you're into that, that's fine, but that's just a little too weird to me. I'm not going to talk to my objects. And I also thought that a lot of her methods were unrealistic to beginners. It was kind of just throwing someone in and just saying, if this doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it, and I don't really think that's going to help the average person. And I also thought the narrator was really annoying, so for those reasons I only gave it 2 out of 5 stars. My next book was a reread, and that was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the illustrated edition by J.K. Rowling and illustrated by Jim Kay. I absolutely loved reading it in this format. It was just so much more magical and childlike, but at the same time it made it eerie because of the illustrations. The illustrations are absolutely beautiful, and I can't wait to collect all of these editions. I'm doing a Harry Potter reread before I go to Universal Studios in January for my birthday, so I kind of want to fully immerse myself in this world before I go, and I absolutely love this. No surprise, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And then after that, I picked up The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I've had this since May, and I've kind of been slowly reading it, but I finally just banged it out this month. This story follows our main character, Leah, and she's recently fled from her kingdom where she was a princess. She was engaged to marry this man, but she really wants to marry for love, and that was not what her father had in mind for her. So she flees her kingdom, goes to another kingdom, but little does she know she is being tracked by 2 men. One is an assassin and one is a prince, and you don't really know who is the assassin and who is the prince. And honestly, I thought that I had it figured out who's the assassin and who is the prince, but I absolutely didn't, and it was kind of a shock to me when I figured it out. It definitely keeps you on your toes. I will say that the first 100-200 pages are slow. I will admit that. The main reason that I will be continuing this series is that the character development really starts at the end of the novel. The plot really starts to pick up at the end of the novel. So I'm expecting that the series will continue with this character development, with this plot development. And I really am intrigued by this book because of the plot. It just went places at the end of the book that I wasn't really expecting it to go. So I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm really excited to see where the series goes next. next. Next, we're going to get into all the books that I read for the Booktube A-Thon. I ended up finishing 6 books for the Booktube A-Thon, which was kind of amazing. I wasn't really expecting to read that much. So I didn't end up finishing the 7 books challenge, but I'm honestly just so happy with 6 books. I can't believe I read that much, honestly. The first book I read was When Dimple Met Rishi by Cindy Manon. This book completed the challenge of a cover buy as well as a book about a character who is different from you. This story follows Dimple. Dimple is very into coding. She's very independent, and her family is of Indian heritage, but she really doesn't like a lot of the customs that she has to follow, particularly arranged marriage. Her parents really want to set her up in arranged marriage, and she's totally not for it. So she's really surprised when her parents allow her to go to a coding camp instead of trying to find an Indian husband. But little does she know, her parents have sent Rishi, another American Indian teen, who they think that she should be in an arranged marriage with. Rishi knows that him and Dimple are kind of set in to be in this arranged marriage, but Dimple does not. Rishi is all for it, Dimple is not. So when they meet, obviously, there's a little bit of controversy about that, and it's sort of them working their way through that throughout the whole novel. I only ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars, I believe, because I was really expecting more coding in this book and really learning about coding and Dimple's interest and really her passion about that, but I found that we didn't get a lot of that. For a character who really had feminist ideals, I feel like it wasn't really brought to life because we focused a lot more on Rishi's talents than we did on Dimple's talents. So that's why I couldn't give it 5 out of 5 stars. I thought the dialogue was really cute. I thought the characters were really well developed, but just because I was really sold on a book about coding, I had to give it 4 out of 5 stars for that reason. The next book that I picked up for the Booktube A-Thon was The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, and this completed the challenge of read a book in 1 day. This story follows our main character, Molly. Molly has had dozens of unrequited loves, crushes, whatever you want to call them, but she's never acted upon them. A lot to do because she has body image issues. She considers herself overweight, and that stops her a lot of the time and her own self-confidence from talking to these boys. But when her twin sister Cassie gets a girlfriend, it kind of re-sparks this need in her to have a boyfriend, and she thinks that she will get some self-justification in that way. I really love the diversity in this book. There's a pansexual character, and there's also a lot of talk about the legalization of gay marriage. She has 2 moms, they're both Jewish, and they're also sperm donor babies. So there's a lot of different ways people could see themselves represented in this book. There were a few problems I had in this book. I do feel like the plot didn't pick up till a little bit more towards the end than I would have liked. I feel like I would have related a lot more to this book in middle school when I didn't have as much self-confidence, but I actually have asked people out. I asked my boyfriend out, so I couldn't really relate to her fear of asking people out, so that kind of was a disconnect for me. And there was also the fact that she consistently doesn't feel beautiful in the book, and then right after she gets a boyfriend, she suddenly feels beautiful, which I think was a little controversial in my opinion. She also, throughout the entire book, is very uncomfortable when everyone around her is talking about sex, and then right after she gets a boyfriend, all she wants to do is have sex, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It kind of was just like, that's not really true to her character. But I thought that the dialogue was really cute. I thought the romances were really adorable. I really liked her love interest. I thought he was super cute and reminded me of my own boyfriend. But because of those problems I did have with it, I only ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. And then I picked up 2 Casey West books, the first being the Fillin Boyfriend. I absolutely loved the 2 Casey West books that I read, which I wasn't really expecting to because I thought that By Your Side was just kind of average, but I loved the Fillin Boyfriend. It was so adorable, but the book was so much more than just your average contemporary. The story follows her main character, Gia. She starts off the book, she's very shallow. Her boyfriend breaks up with her right before prom, like literally in the parking lot, and her main concern is that her friends will think she's lying. Not that she's heartbroken about this guy, but what will her friends think? So she finds this guy in the parking lot, and she's like, you're my date, you're coming in with me. Her and her fake date break up in the auditorium, and then all she can think about the next day is her fake Fillin Boyfriend. So it's sort of her trying to develop a relationship with him after that. But the book is so much more than that. It focuses so much on just character development and becoming a better person. I love the aspect that it just wasn't about romance. It was really about Gia and her personal growth and her personal transformation. I thought this book was so well paced in the development of the romance. I think what the problem that I had with a lot of other contemporaries is that we're just kind of thrown into the romance without a lot of development and without a lot of growth between the 2 characters. But I thought it was done really well in this book, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next Casey West book that I read was On the Fence. The story follows our main character, Charlie. Charlie is very much a tomboy. She grew up with 3 older brothers brothers and her next door neighbor, Brayden, and she's always been kind of like one of the guys, very into sports, that sort of stuff. When she gets a speeding ticket, her father forces her to get a job, so she gets this job at a boutique, and she's kind of forced to confront the fact that she might be more than just the tomboy. But this book focuses a lot on family and family dynamics, and I loved the family aspect of this book so much. Her older brothers are so supportive, and it's just so nice to see a loving family. But there's also a little drama in the book. The love interest was super swoon-worthy, but also kind of frustrating at times, but that's what you want in a contemporary, that tension. This book was also really emotional. I found myself tearing up at the end of this book. It was just really well developed, again, with the characters, with the relationship, and I ended up giving this one also 5 out of 5 stars. And then for the challenge of a hyped book, I picked up You by Caroline Kepnes. This book is written in the second person, and it follows Joe, who is kind of a psychopath, and he meets this woman, and he starts stalking her and then developing a relationship with her. This book was really interesting, and it was really original. I didn't really connect with the writing style as much as I thought I was going to. I thought the you, like the whole second person thing, was going to be really creepy, and it just didn't feel like he was talking about me, so that was kind of disconnect, but the story was still really creepy. I just didn't find it scary. Like, I think it was definitely really fucked up, but I didn't think it was like necessarily really scary, but I thought it was super original in its concept. I think it was really original in the fact that there's no villain and damsel in distress. Like, the psychopath is definitely really fucked up, but the woman that he's stalking also has a lot of character flaws and a lot of problems, so I thought that was very interesting, and I would definitely recommend this, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I completed for the Booktube A-Thon, I also listened to on Audible, and that was American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I don't think you should go into this book knowing very much about it. All you really need to know is it follows this character, Shadow. He's recently been released from prison, and after he gets released from prison, he gets a very interesting job offer. I gave this book 3.75 out of 5 stars because I loved the writing. His writing is absolutely beautiful, and his story was very unique and something I definitely never read before, but I don't think it was just necessarily for me because I'm not really into mythology, so there was a lot of things that I probably didn't pick up on. I would recommend that you read the book as well as listen to the audiobook because I think that I missed out on a lot of stuff just because just listening to it can get kind of overwhelming and you will miss out on some details. I thought the narration was amazing because it has a full cast, so you're hearing a lot of different voices, so it sounds like you're actually listening to a story rather than someone reading a story to you, which I think is a huge difference in your reading experience. There were some parts that I thought that could have been unincluded that kind of deviated from the main storyline, but I honestly just thought it was really unique, and I'm really interested in watching the TV show, so I gave that, again, 3.75 out of 5 stars. So those were all the books that I read for July / the Booktube A-Thon. I can't believe that I read 11 books. Definitely don't think I'm going to be doing that in the month of August, but I'm so into reading again, and that is just what the Booktube A-Thon is all about, and I'm so happy that I participated. Please let me know down below what your favorite read of July was. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more, because I would love to keep talking with you guys. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys!